ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Ask the King for July 2018. This is actually episode 71. I've done 71 of these so far over the years. Damn. And I mean, Ask the King's been a really long-running show. I actually forget in particular when I first started. Was it 2012, maybe? So, pretty cool. But anyway, welcome to Ask the King. This is my Q&A show where I answer your burning questions. What kind of questions? Anything is fair game, although I do pick and choose the questions that I do feel are the best for the show, whether it's entertaining answers, informed answers, and the like. I take your questions via various methods. What methods? Well, number one, my forums on thekingofhate.com. I accept your forum posts, all right? Number two, from my Twitter, @TheyCallMeDSP, people post up the day of. Number three, if you're a patron of mine, right here, if you pledge to my Patreon, the certain perk level allows you to get your question answered for sure on the show. So there's three different groupings of questions, and if time permits today on stream, I'll also allow open Q&A with the stream chat. So it's all going to depend on how stuff goes today with time, time management. FYI, if you're watching this on stream, it will just be an ongoing stream. However, I will be taking breaks during the stream, maybe every 30-40 minutes just to rest my voice. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to break it up into several videos for YouTube, so you'll have 2-3 major segments on the channel. Okay. All right. So, without further ado, we're going to get started. One change that we're going to have today, guys, as you can see above me. Moving forward, I'm going to start doing this, which is basically stream stats, meaning people who contribute during the stream will get credit for their contributions. I'm not going to interrupt questions, but between the questions, I'll be doing shout-outs for those who cheer, sub, and tip, okay? All right, so let's get started. First of all, I want to start with patron questions. For people who are patrons, who pledge to my Patreon at patreon.com/darksidephil, and they're guaranteed to get their questions answered, so let's go ahead and jump into those first. All right, and then we'll get to everything else. All right. So first off, excuse me. This question is from Lord Lamb, and he asks the following. He says, Phil, this is quite possibly the most philosophical question you've ever received, but here it goes. Does hardship make a person stronger? If so, under what condition and at what point is too much hardship and verging on cruelty? If not, what makes a person stronger? Keep up the good work. I mean, obviously, when you ask me that question, it's one of the more pertinent questions because I've been the subject of much derision, much slander, much attack and ridicule over the years on YouTube, okay? And in particular on the internet as well. Shout out to Zealotry ALZ who just resubbed for the second month in a row. Thank you, Zealotry, for the resub. And the thing is, I really feel that there's different kinds of hardship, all right? There's hardship that's caused as a direct response to you doing something stupid. That, living with the consequences of your actions is something that everyone has to do in life and has to learn. And over the years, I admit openly that I've done stupid shit that got me into trouble. And for various reasons, I ended up getting kicked off of websites. I ended up getting into trouble with other things. But there's also been situations where there's stuff I haven't done. And literally, people have tried to make shit up about me and create slander or take something out of context to make it look like I said or did something I didn't do. And then they lose an opportunity for me. I mean, sponsorships and other stuff are just some examples of things that have happened. Then you got the really malicious stuff, like trying to convince YouTube that you work for a major game publisher and that you are putting copyright strikes against my channel to get it permanently shut down so I can't make a living on the internet anymore. That's just fucking dirty. That's, first of all, it's illegal. It's 100% illegal. And things like that have really permanently hurt me. DSP Gaming at one point was a channel that really highly ranked in YouTube search rankings for new game playthroughs. And then when that malicious stuff happened, it permanently jumped down in the rankings. And very rarely ever over the years had I ever after that put a video on DSP Gaming that really hit the search algorithms correctly on YouTube and got popular. I mean, maybe 2 videos ever after that. And it sucks to know that something that I put so much hard work and dedication, 10 years I've been doing this, a content creator for the internet, that just because some people get their jollies from talking shit or being negative about others, that I'm the butt of the joke and I've really concretely been hurt time and time and time again by it. And again, I'm not, by any means, am I not saying that the hardships that I've been through, that a lot of them haven't been caused by some of my own actions, but a lot of them are not. It's just people saying, well, this guy did something wrong 8 years ago, So let's create a mob mentality to fucking lynch this fucking guy and make sure that even no matter how much he changes for the better or how much he improves, he's still going to be that guy from 8 years ago who everyone hates, and therefore we're just going to keep saying that to everyone and get every possible fucking opportunity taken away from him, okay? And it's just a lot, man. It is. It piles and piles on. Now, you're saying, do hardship make someone stronger? Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, guys. All the shit that I've been through, I'm definitely a much stronger person now than I used to be. Like, when I started on YouTube, was I a strong person? Yes, but I was a very defensive person. And I remember when I started that, in particular, if I did something and someone criticized it, a lot of the times I would just completely shut off the criticism. I would say, no, I know what I'm doing. People like my content, so I don't want to hear it, right? I mean, how long did it take me to adopt direct capture? I was doing just a video camera, or I wasn't even a video camera, it was just a regular camera recording video content of my television until 2013. And at that point, most people who wanted to do videos on the internet of gaming had already adopted a method of direct capture. They weren't doing that kind of stuff anymore, right? So, you know, I admit that a lot of the times back then, it was like obstinate Phil, really just hard-headed Phil. But I would say probably around that era, 2013, 2014. So we're talking, 4+ years ago, where I started to become a lot more open-minded. I started walking in other people's shoes. I started trying things over the years that people had wanted me to try, like Minecraft and other franchises that I always had made fun of myself. I started checking them out and realizing, oh my God, I really have been an asshole. I've been a person who's just been so close-minded and stubborn and been a jerk to a lot of people. And that's probably why at that time so many people disliked me. Today, why so many people dislike me is just because of a rolling mob mentality of sheep. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. Like, the reason that most people dislike me today, you'll ask them and they won't have a valid reason. They'll cite something that I changed already. They'll cite something from the past that doesn't exist anymore, They'll cite those things that have become memes, rolling memes that make Phil a negative guy on the internet that aren't even true anymore. And that's the problem, is when you get that mob mentality that just believes this guy's bad no matter what, how are you ever going to get that to change? And that's really what's happened to me, is over the years, I've had to grow the thickest possible skin, because I know on any given day, someone is going to come and say something nasty about me that's not true. And the bottom line is, it would be one thing if it was just an average person saying it, but these are big YouTubers and big streamers. Just last fucking night, there was a guy with over 200,000 Twitter followers, okay, who I posted up on my Twitter something like, to this day, I'm still trying to hear something, that reason why people really still dislike me. It would be one thing you talk about the past, but I'm still waiting to hear this big reason why in modern days people don't like me so much, and why I'm such a person that's so hated on the internet. And then the guy literally takes my tweet, apparently followed me, I don't know, takes my tweet and says a negative thing about me to his follower, over 200,000 followers, right? Now, I don't even know who the guy is. I never heard of him before. Some other streamer or YouTuber, I don't know who the hell this fucking guy is, right? But here's a guy who has a giant following, and he says something nasty about me, right? On Twitter. I never heard of him, never said a nasty thing to him. And apparently, so now why do you think people don't like me? Because irresponsible people like that, right, come out all the time and do shit like that. PewDiePie makes a video at my expense. Or this fucking guy I never heard of talks shit. Jim Sterling. Someone gifted me a sub to Darkside Phil on Twitch. How hilarious. Ha 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 ha. It's like, why do you think people don't like me? Because these big people are irresponsible. Now I used to be like that. I'll openly admit, I used to talk shit about games like Minecraft and the like. But I don't do that shit anymore. I'm not going to go out and say, oh, this person is a piece of shit or whatever. I'm not. If I give my opinion on something, I'm going to be very opinionated. But at the end, I always am sure to say these days, but it's okay if you disagree with me. It's actually okay if you don't agree with my sentiment, if you don't feel that the kind of content I put out is the best content. That's okay, because in this modern era, there's enough out there for everyone, and everyone has different tastes. That's the right way to approach it. Back then, I didn't used to do that, but only thing people want to remember is the Phil from back then who used to be a dick, and not the new guy who's really matured and changed over the last 4 or 5 years, and I've really made an honest effort to do things more positively, right? So what I could say is this. I've learned over the years to have a much thicker skin. If I literally just let every little thing that happens to me on a daily basis get to me, I wouldn't be here. I'd be in a nut house. I'm not even exaggerating. I'd be in a nut house in a fucking straight jacket, the funny farm jacket, the white coat, bouncing off the fucking padded walls, because I can't, for the life of me, at least in the last 3-4 years, cite so many horrendous things that apparently I've done that people would hate me. The things that they reference are ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. Oh, Phil was playing VR chat and a girl insulted him, so he said he was gonna slap her. That didn't happen. What I said was, if there was a kid like that, you know, they deserve to basically, I would slap the kid because they're basically acting like that, right? And it was a joke. It wasn't said to the kid. It was an on-the-cuff reaction to a girl who had literally insulted me first. Obviously, no, in real life, would I run up and slap a child? Of course I wouldn't. But that's just the thing. People will take a little thing like that out of context and say, Phil said he's going to run around and slap kids. Oh, that's it. Here we go again, back on the hate bandwagon for Phil. And if you actually watch anything in context, you realize that's not what it is. And in addition to that, the other thing that people got to realize is that I am one of the most prolific content creators on the internet. I am streaming 8 hours a day, putting out about 6 hours of gameplay video content on an average day. On YouTube itself, I've got over, I think at this point, if you added up 70+ thousand videos spanning 10 years, you know, when I work so much and I put out so much content, of course, you're going to look at that and say, okay, out of the 365 days that Phil streamed in 2017, wow, there were 4 days where he really was an asshole. That's 4 out of 365, and I'm sorry, but that's kind of a good ratio, you know what I mean? When it comes to that, everyone's human, and everyone's going to make mistakes. And I openly admit, I'm human. I make tons of fucking mistakes. I do. And I want to become better, and I want to learn how to control my temper and control my depression and control all the issues that I have inside of me to not be a negative jerk to you guys, right? I want to make my streams and my content as positive as possible. But when you constantly have people who will only focus on those times when you fuck up and say that's the be-all and end-all of you, when you've got some guy on Twitter who's insanely irresponsible, who has so many followers, who literally just says, oh, see, Phil's an asshole or Phil's a jerk, here you go, guys, hate on him. What do you think's going to happen? And that's it. Let's not take any responsibility for the years of systematic abuse that you've thrown at me. That was just jokes. It was just fun and jokes. And Phil's a jerk anyway. He deserves it. He can handle it. He's got the thickest skin. He's not going to go away. That's horrible. That's like saying you have absolutely no responsibility in your life for anything you fucking do, and that's terrible. You know, now I do take responsibility for the stuff that I do. When I fuck up, I'll admit that I did something stupid. You know, I made a horrible joke about iJustine last year that I know is messed up, and I wouldn't do that again, you know, and I learned from those mistakes when people call them out. But for you to only think that that's who the end all and be all of who I am after 10 years of fucking content I put on the internet is insanely irresponsible, unfair, and dangerous, because here I am now in a situation where financially I don't even know if I'm going to be able to keep doing this for a living, and it's not anything I did, you know, and that's fucking terrible, you know. So yeah, I do believe, Lord Lamb, that there is you can become stronger as a person to a certain extent, but when so much shit gets piled on you constantly, day after 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 day, there has to be a point where you say enough, you know. And I haven't gotten there yet, I guess. But, I mean, it's just ludicrous the amount of shit that happens to me on a daily basis at this point. Every fucking day there's something new just to screw me over. And it's like, just in the last week, DSP Gaming got demonetized, my internet went out, and I lost a sponsorship opportunity due to a technical glitch. In 1 week, you know? And it's like, now how do you expect someone like me to push forward positively when it's like negative, 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 negative? It sucks. I don't want that. I don't want everything to be negative, negative, negative. I want to have positive things to balance the negative, and thank God I do. I got my girlfriend, you know, I got my life outside of the streams, and quite frankly, when I'm on the streams and we're having fun with games and stuff, it's worth it. It's a really good experience and situation. I wouldn't do this for a living moving forward if I didn't have fun doing it. That's the bottom line. If this were not worth it, or I really didn't enjoy what I was doing, I wouldn't keep doing it. Okay, that's really one of the main reasons why I persevere through all the bullshit I go through every day, is because I really do genuinely enjoy interacting with you guys and having fun gameplay streams, and getting the support that I get from Kat allows me to keep pushing forward and persevering through the bullshit. Okay, and every day there's something new. Today there's something new, or yesterday there was something new saying that I own 2 cars. I own a $40,000 car. No, I don't. No, Cat doesn't. No, you know, it's more bullshit, more slander. People just making shit up. Oh, Phil says he needs your help, but he just bought a $40,000 car. No, I didn't. You literally have made something completely up. There's no fucking factual evidence behind it, just like the escort story, just like everything else. But this is what I mean. People have now made up so much shit about me that it's now the running meme to just believe it. And now, oh, now don't go support Phil because he's lying to you all along. And it's just to the point where it's like, I can't take it anymore, you know? It's ridiculous. I'm at least grateful that I know I've got so many people who hang out with me on a daily basis, who believe what I say. Because if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't still be here. You know, 10 years, some people give me the benefit of the doubt, and they see all the nonsense that's been out there over the years. They're here for the streams to actually see what happens rather than listening to the misinformation or the slander later. And I do appreciate that, you know? So, to summarize, yeah, I do feel that hardship can make you stronger to a point, but there's also a point of breaking. And, you know, you get to that point, it's like, you know, how much more can I take? I really can't take much more at this point. I'm at the point where I need something positive to happen in regards to either YouTube or Twitch. I need my Twitch to blow up. I need my YouTube to get its monetization back. I need something positive to fucking happen so that I can at least sit down for 5 minutes and just have a sigh of relief and say, thank God, at least for now I can relax. I can't. It's hard for me to even fucking relax for 2 seconds when constantly there's negative. Fucking guy on Twitter with 200,000 followers shits on you. Fucking guy with a huge following on the internet says you're an asshole. I don't even know who the fuck you people are. I have nothing to fucking do with you, and I'm tired of the shit. I'm tired of being bullied just because you think it's fucking cool and you believe all the stupid shit out there instead of doing 5 seconds of responsible research to find out the truth. That's insane. And quite frankly, people like that shouldn't have the followings they have. Just being real, they don't deserve it. Because if you're going to have a following that, you need to be responsible, you know? Now, maybe those people will learn. And they'll just like me, over time they'll learn and realize how irresponsible that is, and they'll change for the better. Great. But sadly, what I see as a pattern out there is that a lot of people out there who got this, you know, flash in the pan internet following just for streaming games or whatever, all of a sudden now don't know what to do with it, and they constantly do irresponsible, stupid shit that hurts other people, and that's not good. Okay? All right. Factor Bacter Jr. subscribed to the channel for the 8th month in a row. Thank you. Mr. Goody Good did a cheer. He says, I gotta say in an honest way, you're the only YouTuber I know that has the most dedicated hate fans that hate on you for no reason just to see you fail, and I hope things get better. Thank you for the cheer. Ben Boxer says, you're not hated on the internet. Those are just people who feel inadequate and resort to lashing out at you. No, I do think there is a group like that, but I think a lot of them is just, let's just join the bandwagon of hilarity and fun and ridicule because it's the cool in thing to do. That guy on Twitter last night literally gained no positivity for himself doing what he did. He just thought he would get a laugh, you know? And it's at the expense of me to hurt me directly. Let's get a laugh. Let's get at this guy who's been working for 10 fucking years, busting his ass to try to make ends meet. Let's make fun of him, but just because I can to get a laugh with my followers, right? Instead of, oh, okay, well, this guy's kind of down on his luck. Let's just fucking ignore it, right? Josh just cheered. It said, don't lie, Phil. You have a Porsche for Cat and a Rolls Royce Phantom. Of course I do. I mean, it's just the nonsense, complete nonsense. And how many, for 2 months, for 2 fucking months, okay, for 2 months, people believed that there was, for 2 months, people believed that there was an escort. He actually believed there was a fucking escort. It's so stupid. There's no evidence, zero, just shit made up on the internet. You know, now people are making shit about cars and they're so dumb, but they want to just keep talking shit. It frustrates the fuck out of me. It does. Okay. Let's continue. The next question's from Nick. He says, if it's not possible to stream at the same time on 2 services, is it possible to stream separately? For example, stream playthroughs on KO Gaming in the old style, but do interactive streams on Twitch? No. The terms of service are very clear for both services. They say if you're going to be in a partnership and stream with us, we don't want you streaming on any other service. So, for example, Twitch, right now I'm partnered with them. I'm only supposed to be doing monetized streams on Twitch, period. If I were to go over to YouTube and start doing constant monetized streams over there, Twitch could say you're in violation of terms of service and cancel my partnership here. Vice versa, same thing with YouTube. So no, you are not allowed to do what you suggested, Nick. He says, any chance of fan videos coming back to KO Gaming? Maybe if there were restrictions on the link to the video. I'm always open to fan submissions. I never shut down fan submissions. People at one point were doing fan submissions to KO Gaming, and I enjoyed them and enjoyed putting them up there. So yeah, that's always a possibility. Of course, I would need to review the videos first. How much money on average do you make during a stream before it goes on YouTube, and how does it compare to a typical part-time job? That I can't answer you. Number one, because every single stream is completely different. I don't have average numbers. And number two, because it would be pretty stupid for me to disclose income, You know what I mean? So I can't answer that for you, Nick. Last question, he says, do you think it would make more sense to do discussions and updates on the end of the stream instead of during pre-stream so you can start the game quicker? No, because the thing is, I don't know how long those discussions are going to go on. Sometimes I'll do a pre-stream, and I'll do my plug segment, and then shoutouts last 10, 15 minutes, and we're ready to game within, say, a half an hour. Sometimes I do my plug segment, and then the shoutouts last an hour. So I can't go late, especially with these streams. I have dinner and stuff that I have with my girlfriend and everything. I can't run late. I have to get that done first. That's why I purposely do it first, so there's enough time to handle it, and then I can control the end of the stream. That's why I do it that way. Okay. All right, so Infinite 55, this is the last patron question, by the way, and this is a really good one, and it's a two-parter. So before I do it, there's one more shout-out to do to Wealthy Entrepreneur. He says, it must be extremely painful to deal with trolls. You're a big guy, and you'll overcome it all. Good luck. Thank you very much, Wealthy Entrepreneur, for that cheer. All right. All right. So 2 questions from Infinite 55. Let's tackle them one by one, everybody. Okay, let's tackle them one by one. Okay, I am periodically checking my email just in case there's news from YouTube, but I'm not expecting any positive news, honestly. Okay. First question. He says, being an avid viewer of yours since 2009, I've noticed many changes, not just in the way you conduct your business, but also in the way in which your fans interact with you and the types of games they want to watch you play. Being humans, we are subject to modification and change as a result of evolution and our environment, even over an infinitesimally small period like 10 years. That being said, I was wondering if you could contrast the kinds of fans you had back then with your current viewer base, even though many of them, including myself, are old fans of yours. Are there noticeable differences, and if so, what do you think catalyzed these changes? Yeah, so he's asking, what's the difference between a common fan back in the day, say 2008 to 2013, to a common fan now? I'll be honest with you, I think the people today are a lot more free thinking, and what I mean by that is they don't just watch me because I'm popular, because let's face it, I'm not anywhere near as popular as I used to be. I'm more infamous now than famous. Back then, there was a kind of this mob mentality on YouTube of someone who was popular, watch them just because they're popular. And it's the same now. I mean, some of the top guys are only popular on YouTube because they're popular. If you watch their stuff, you say, well, I don't see the difference between this and someone else, but that's what I mean. Like, that's kind of what happens with pop culture in particular. People become popular just because, for some reason, there was something that made them popular for 1 minute, and then they just blow up, and then they're big forever, right? In my particular case, back in the day, I was the one guy doing on-the-fly improv Let's Plays with this improv-style commentary. I wasn't scripting anything. I wasn't doing a walkthrough with instructional stuff. It was just a Joe Schmo kind of guy playing with the game, not taking it too seriously, having fun with it, and joking along the way with this silly commentary. That, to some extent, is pretty much what I've always done, although over the years I have matured. I've toned down on how risque or over-the-top my commentary would be. And I definitely, in my opinion, have improved at games a lot. Even though I do fail a ton still, I'm way better than I was back in the day. Go watch my original playthroughs of some of these games, like any Dark Souls from Software game, the old GTAs, compare that with today, you're going to see a major improvement and difference, right? But in general, I was popular, and people watched my stuff back then because they thought I was funny, but also because so many other people were watching, they wanted to be part of this social thing, Much like I said, anyone who gets that kind of viral popularity on the internet, it's because it's kind of a social anomaly. You want to be part of the fun. You want to be part of that, right? So I'm going to watch Phil's videos because so many other people watch Phil's videos, and not only am I going to enjoy what he does, but I'm going to watch their reactions to it and everything. Sadly, over the years, it completely flipped. When you saw that negative flip with "This is how you don't play" and everything, and it flipped on its head, what ended up happening was those people who virally followed me for positive reasons then flipped it into negative reasons. And now, a lot of the people who are my biggest fans are a completely different kind of viewer. They're people who have watched me along the way, and they enjoy the fact that I do things so differently from others, that I have an opinionated stance on certain things. They like that I have an opinion that I stand for, but I'm not a complete asshole that says that's the only way to think, because I don't think that way anymore. It's a different thing. Like, the people today, they're here not because I'm popular, but because they've seen how long I've been around. They see how much fun I do genuinely have when I'm enjoying a game and sharing that experiences with you, and they want to see me continue to succeed despite the hardships. I pretty much, like I said, they see me as like the ultimate underdog. You know what I mean? Like, the guy who's been through so much, but they want to see him succeed because he's been through so much, right? So they stick around and they hang out, and they realize now that a lot of people have even told me, in the last year and a half, I would say, since I really changed my style and became a full-time streamer per se, that they've heard so many negative things about me, but when they come and watch the streams, they don't see that at all. Yes, maybe every once in a while I have a moment of weakness during that stream where I'm an asshole, but in general, watching the streams is a positive, fun experience. I'm really interactive with my fans, and we have a lot of fun together, and people love that about me versus what they hear outside of that. Right? So now, instead of, I came to watch Phil because I heard he's great, a lot of people say, I come to watch Phil because I heard he's bad, but I found out he's actually good and I stick around. That's a completely different mindset from the old style viewer, right? In addition, I mean, this is real talk, back then, it was all about making money on ads on YouTube. It was all about, I just come and I frivolously watch a video here or there. Phil makes money off the ads. Now it's not like that anymore. Now it's really about crowdfunding. Really the future of someone like me or anyone who's like this kind of a content creator is crowdfunding. Finding people who like what you do so much and want you to keep doing it in the future that they're going to contribute via various methods, like buying a t-shirt off Teespring or pledging to Patreon or sending a tip during a stream, etc. That's the future of this kind of a job or this kind of content, not trying to run ads and make enough money on ad revenue to pay the bills. Because really, it fell out. It really did. Last year, that was the end of that. Really, with the YouTube ad pocket, that was the end of all that shit. So, to answer your question, that's the difference. What really catalyzed the change between the old school giant amount of viewers who used to watch me on YouTube and now the smaller dedicated amount of viewers that I have on Twitch was that flip of the switch, I'd say around 2012, where people started to take the things that they loved me for and turn them into things they hate me for. They demonized me and turned me into this negative, toxic meme that in reality I wasn't. But for them and their own purposes of ridicule and fun and getting their jollies and in some cases getting big YouTube popularity for the This Is How You Don't Play video series, they demonized me for their own personal purposes. And that's when that big viewer base of the old school, we just watch Phil because he's popular, they went away. Phil's not popular anymore, on to the next. And that's what they did. They went on to the next fad, and that's how it is. I'm the remnant of the old school Let's Play fad on YouTube, right? But people find enough value in what I do to say they want to see me continue and be successful, and that's why people contribute on the stream. So the people you see today are more of, we don't watch because he's popular, we watch because we like what he does. That's a totally different mindset from what it used to be. And that's actually, in my opinion, a more meaningful mindset. Because now, when I'm on stream, I actually have a more direct connection with you guys, right, on a daily basis. I do feel that. I feel that we can have intelligent discussions about stuff. Never would I have ever done that back on YouTube. We can have intelligent discussions. We can hang out. We can joke with each other, have fun, and it feels like a fun hangout. Rather than back then, it was like I'm talking to a giant mob of unruly people, and I have no idea how they're going to react to anything I do, so I'll just throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. You know what I mean? That's really how it was back in the day. But now things have changed. You know? Now things have changed. So there's the answer to your first question. We'll get to the second in a moment, but I got a couple shout-outs to do. Shout out to Deacon Moss, who did a 25-bit cheer, and he says, why must I shit so fierce? I don't know. Maybe you ate a 3 bean and cheese burrito from Taco Bell. You know, maybe someone put X-Lax in your milkshake, but you should probably go hit the toilet before you have a little accident there. And Grazy Dream did a 500-bit cheer to become the top cheerer for today. Thank you. He says, how long before Facebook is as dead as MySpace? That's a good question. Quite frankly, I think a lot of people were turned off to Facebook when they found out about things like the advertisements that were put on it. The whole fake news kind of aspect of it. And the fact that now they realize that even though they thought that their information was safe, that their information is used for purposes that they don't really approve. Personally, I never found Facebook useful whatsoever. Not once. Not in my personal life before YouTube, and not after. Like, I don't see any point in using it. It just seems to me to be like a stupid, frivolous thing. If you're friends with someone, you're going to be able to have a place to reach them and show them your pictures anyway. You don't have to fucking put it on a public wall that everyone can access and now has all your fucking personal information of places you've been and shit. I just don't get it. I don't get Facebook. It's one thing if you're someone like me and you're a public-facing personality. It's another thing entirely if you're a private person and now you just literally got all your personal information out there and someone could dox the fuck out of you. I hate Facebook. I really do. Okay. Second question from Infinite. Another good one. Get ready, guys. Hold on to your butts. Infinite asks some really good questions. He says, empirically, and in my strong conviction, Political correctness has affected every conceivable area of entertainment, both negatively and irrevocably. However, in some cases, it has proven to be useful and beneficial, but those cases are few and far between. Many proponents of political correctness have demanded certain changes through intimidation, ostracization, victimization, and legislation in the name of equality and equity, as if they were arbiters of knowledge and morality. Personally, I think in certain cases it has inhibited and obstructed the creative process to the point where some of my favorite television and movie series and games have been rendered completely banal and uninspired, where developers, directors are too trepidatious about pushing the envelope and taking risks. Do you agree with my assertions, or do you think I'm being too hyperbolic? I don't know if it's hyperbolic or hyperbolic. If you agree, what do you think the media, entertainment, and gaming will look like in 15 years, and what is our recourse? In other words, can we prevent the influence of political correctness? If you didn't understand what Infinite just said, basically what he's saying is everything's becoming so PC at this point that everyone's afraid to do anything that's going to piss someone off, and then you're going to have a giant internet social media movement against you that's going to get you off of being able to work, right? There are some really good things that have come out of movements of the past few years. The Black Lives Matter movement, the Me Too movement, these are movements that at their core and at their focus, what they're going after is something very righteous and very right and very morally just. But when you bastardize those movements to put them into an extreme extent, you end up going overboard and destroying things like free speech and creativity. And this is really where we come to a bypass. There were times in the past when people wanted to censor books. They said, this book is too risque. Burn the books. That we can't have our kids doing this kind of stuff or that kind of stuff. Now, today we say book burning is ludicrous. Why would anyone want to do that? But then we end up with things that are so over the top when it comes to political correctness that the same shit happens. You know what I mean? Like today I see with the feminism movement. I'm all for feminism. You know, I believe that women in general as a sex have been oppressed for a long time, and that they should have equal rights to men. I'm going to repeat myself. They should have equal rights to men. They should be able to vote. They should have equal pay. Everything should be equal. I don't think that because you're a male or a female that you should be treated differently, okay? I believe that as a core. But when you bastardize that feminism movement and now you say, well, women should just be at the top no matter what. You should have a game that's made all by women and every protagonist is a woman, and you should have a movie where the whole cast is women and the whole crew is women. Wait, what? Now wait a minute. Now you've completely destroyed the whole point of the political correctness you were trying to say everyone should be treated fairly, but then you flipped it on its head and made it the opposite, and now you've got it, bastardized to the wrong side. And I'm seeing that happen a lot in the modern era, is that people are taking it to too much of an extreme. Again, like they say, everything in moderation. There's the spirit behind a movement that's really what you should be focusing on. Not, oh, now that we are getting an inch, let's take a mile. Oh, we got a win where now, there was a big win for, voting rights in a certain district where it used to be unfair. Now let's try to completely push it to the point where these people have too much power. See what I mean? Like, you got to always have a moderation. You've got to have a logic to it that makes it so that it doesn't push too forward the other way, right? Because then what's to stop it from going the other way? I completely agree that we have a society, at least outside of the United States, we have a society where women are oppressed. There's a lot of countries where women are still treated like property, if you can believe that. In the modern era, 2018, in some countries, women are still treated like property. That's fucked up. That needs to change, right? But no, I don't believe that in the United States, we should have it that women have control of everything. That's ridiculous. There should be a balance. It should be a balance, okay? That's just me. That's my belief. Now, again, I will say, you can disagree with me, and that's okay. And we can have intelligent discussions back and forth about that point. I'm not a kind of obstinate person anymore who's going to say, I think that that's my opinion and that's right and you're wrong if you disagree with me. Maybe there are situations where having the extreme makes sense. But at least in my experience in life, when you push it to one side or the other too much of an extreme, that's when you don't get anything done and when bad things happen. So, yeah, I mean, what Infinite is saying is, look at the modern society and how people are so afraid to even do stuff. A perfect example of this, Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock, in the last few years, have both come out publicly and said comedy sucks now. Comedy as a whole isn't comedy anymore. Because comedy used to be about taking generalizations about race or about sex or about things like that and pushing them as a joke, not serious, but as a joke, a stereotype to the forefront and laughing at it together so that it's no longer a cultural harm or thing, but instead it's something to be laughed at, and that actually takes away the power of what you're laughing at. It's not necessarily a bad thing anymore. Now it's just a funny thing, okay? Jerry Seinfeld in particular said, you know, I go to a college campus, okay? I go to a college campus, and I try to do my stand-up comedy, and half the crowd's booing me. And I'm like, this is comedy that I used to do in the 90s, and it was literally the best thing ever. I became a multimillionaire, you know, my show, one of the most popular comedies ever, and people used to love me, and now modern audiences just don't get it anymore because they've been so ingrained in this protective PC culture, they don't even understand that a joke is a joke, and I'm not fucking being serious. You know, Chris Rock, holy shit, his whole comedy is usually about race and stuff like that, and some people get offended when he does his thing now. So I get it. Like, the culture is becoming so PC. The problem is, when you don't push the envelope anymore and you don't do risque stuff, what happens is you get two things. Two different things can happen. Number one, you could have a hyper protective culture. Everything is sterilized. Everything is fucking boring and homogenized, and everything is the same. Okay? And when everything's the same, there's no creativity, there's no inspiration. Why would you want to see a movie or a television show when it's just a carbon copy of 10 other things you've already seen, right? No one's willing to push the envelope at the chance that someone will be offended, and therefore everything sucks. That's number one. Or on the flip side, you just get garbage. Reality TV, I hate to say it, but YouTubers who are the reality YouTubers running around doing stupid stunts and shit on YouTube, you get that homogenized, just stupid chaos crap for the sake of it being chaotic, the train wreck content. That's what I really should call it, the train wreck stuff. That becomes popular too because those people are only doing the crazy over-the-top shit, right? So people can rage against them. They don't care because that gives them more popularity, and they continue on with the over-the-top crazy shit, and they become popular even more. I think we saw that this year with, what was it, Logan Paul? I always forget if it's Logan Paul or Jake Paul. I think it's Logan Paul, right? Who earlier this year came out and did this nasty, just really bad video with people who committed suicide, hanging in the suicide forest in Japan. And, oh, woe is me, I got to go away for a while now because so many people hate me. I've never had this kind of negative attention before. The guy's back, he's making ridiculous amounts of money, and he's making a fucking documentary about how hard this year was for him. See what I mean? Like, this is a guy, he did the complete opposite of political correctness, but he capitalized on it, and now he's banking on it. So you get the two schools, and you become too politically correct, you get the two opposite schools. You get the people who thrive on that to get popular, and you get homogenized, boring content. So that's it. We can't stifle creativity for the sake of everyone not suddenly being offended like a happy little snowflake. At the same time, it's all about moderation. No, we shouldn't tolerate people who are insanely extreme to the point where you get things that are just so ridiculous and over the top that it's offensive, you know? So, again, it's all about moderation. It really is. You know, what can I say? What can I say? There is no definitive answer to your question, Infinite. I just hope that we don't get to such an extreme situation that just content is stifled and becomes completely, you know, uninspired garbage, and we only get the drama style train wreck content out there as an example of the opposite. That would be the worst case scenario, but sadly that's kind of the way society's going these days. You know what I mean? When you look at stuff on YouTube, that's what's popular, and that's not good. Okay, let's see here. Ben Boxer cheered. He says, there's nothing wrong with political correctness. It's just the enemy of comedians. I agree there. But at the same time, you know, are there comedians who've gone far too far? Absolutely. Absolutely, there are. And I agree there. That's what I mean. It's moderation. You got to find that happy medium, right? Josh just cheered. He says, it's like the Apu controversy in The Simpsons where people are triggered about the Indian stereotypes. Like the first whole show of The Simpsons is based on stereotypes. I'm Asian, and I get called Kim Jong-un and Jackie Chan. I laugh it off. If this keeps going, NWO and too much censorship is going to happen. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to disagree with you. But, right, in general, here's a character. The Simpsons always was a show about stereotypes and laughing at stereotypes. Now, all of a sudden, after 25 fucking years, 30 years of the show running, now you can't have that stereotype anymore? Like, huh? And why are people even offended at it? What about Apu is so negatively offensive about Indian people? I'd love to hear it. I mean, yeah, there's silly things about him maybe kind of being a penny pincher and he runs a quickie mart. What is so bad? Tell me. Is he a mass murderer? You know, is he doing horrible things sexually to animals and shit? You know what I mean? No. He's not doing terrible, ridiculous, bad, over-the-top things that would make people say, oh, Indians are bad. What is so offensive about Apu? I don't know, but then again, I grew up in that era, so maybe that's why I don't get it. I don't know. Okay, we still have time. I think we have time for at least one more question before we go on a break here, guys. All right. Let's go ahead and answer one more. Ladiesman2166 says, I think it's safe to say Microsoft and Sony have stopped supporting their last-gen systems. So my question is, what was your favorite exclusive on each the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360? Really hard question to answer because there were so many, but I'm just going to, off the top of my head, say at the time that it released, Mass Effect 1 was a console exclusive on the Xbox 360, so I'm going to say that was my favorite 360 exclusive, and Uncharted. The Uncharted franchise for the PS3, I would say. Now, there were many, many more, and I'm sure people, oh, no, Phil, this and that. That's just off the top of my head, my answers on that question, okay? Okay, this is a good one. This will be the final question, then we'll take a break. From BlackSpawn89, he says, Phil, lately I've been seeing that you maybe read reviews of upcoming games and sort of a question in reference of how you go about compiling your honest opinion when it comes to reviewing a video game or speaking about it while you're playing it, for better or for worse, whether it was for a game like God of War or Sea of Thieves, Extinction, or even going back as far as Murdered Soul Suspect, in which you vehemently disagreed with IGN on it. You happen to be among the group who read reviews posted days prior to a game coming out. You mentioned on Twitter, pre-streams, etc., about a game being heralded anywhere from excellent to poor before getting your taste of the game. Do you think it becomes somewhat of a detriment to formulating your opinion when it comes to reading someone else's take on a video game? By that I mean getting to take on a game like a random difficulty curve, or having that in the back of your mind when going blind towards a playthrough, sort of as a potential talking point to debunk or agree on when you're giving your honest thoughts about that video game. Having a preconceived notion of a game's strengths or problems from reading a review, does it affect your ability to formulate your own opinion or addressing something that hadn't maybe been mentioned when giving your final thoughts on games? It's for this very reason I stay away from reading reviews, not just for the spoilers, but also for allowing myself to formulate an opinion and to not have someone else's bias or experience on a game review, alter my thoughts heading into a game. I just think it's climbing a slippery slope when a Let's Player, or even just a gamer, allows someone else's experience or opinion on the game end up affecting their opinion on the game and how they play or react to said game. To summarize what Black Spawn just said, do you think that reading an early review could influence what you think about a game? Okay. And do you think you should stay away from early reviews? That's literally what he's saying. Do you try not to spoil yourself and try not to read early reviews? Because I've noticed that sometimes, Phil, you mention early reviews when you're playing a game, and obviously you have a preconceived notion about that game then. My philosophy when I'm playing a game is I'm not going to let any outside factors affect my opinion of that game, okay? I play a game at face value, and I try to enjoy it for what it presents to me. Regardless of what someone else says about the game or likes about the game, I'm going to play the game, and I'm going to, for myself, try to judge it based on my own factors, the amount of games that I've played, my experience of 10 years doing this for as a hobby and then a job. I feel I have a lot of experience under my belt, and I can give a really good opinion on how good a game is based on my own experience with that game, hands-on, playing it, not hearing what someone else said. Now, here's the thing. The fact of the matter is that I am a public presence. I have a public persona, and constantly people are in contact with me, whether it's on Twitter, on my forums, emails, stream chat. I'm always connected to the internet, right? It's very hard to even just disconnect. Once a week, I get a day away with my girl where I disconnect from the internet, and boy, does it feel good to do that. It really does. But that being said, I'm constantly connected to the internet. It's just a part of what I do. And because of that, yeah, you're absolutely right that there are situations, where I will get exposed to something in a game before I've ever played the game. People were praising the shit out of God of War 2 to 3 weeks before the game came out. People were shitting on Murdered Soul Suspect a full week before the game came out. Sadly, I hate to say it, these early reviews can very strongly influence public opinion about a game and take a game that maybe otherwise, if there weren't these early reviews that completely either pushed a game into the stratosphere or sunk it down into the toilet, these games may have sold differently. All right? God of War was an amazing game. It absolutely deserved the praise that it got, in my opinion, when I finally got my hands on that game. Murdered Soul Suspect was not a bad game in my opinion. For what it was, they were trying to do a narrative game with a supernatural, interactive kind of gameplay with sneaking, but also with kind of detective stuff. It was definitely different from what you would expect from a mainstream console video game from in the year that I think it was 2014, the year it came out. It's very different, okay? And I saw so much hate for that game, and I would say, why? Oh, well, because IGN shat all over it. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Let me go read the IGN review. And when you read the IGN review, you realize the person who reviewed the game doesn't like narrative-based games. They want more action. They want more gameplay and challenge. They're not looking for a narrative-based video game. So when you put someone in a position to review a game who doesn't like that style of game, they're obviously not going to fucking like it, and they're going to say it's bad. The problem was Murdered Soul Suspect was a game with a very small budget, almost no advertisement, and therefore it didn't get any exposure except the negative review from IGN, and no one bought it because of it, when in reality, I played it and actually incredibly enjoyed the story of it because that's what they were going for with the fucking game. So that's the problem, is when you have these early reviews, there's a symptom of this whole early review process, that they could completely screw things over. And in my opinion, you don't need early reviews anymore. You know, there was a time in the 1990s when there was no internet. People couldn't get game reviews instantly on the internet. You couldn't watch a playthrough on the internet. None of that existed. So you needed to buy a game magazine. You had to buy EGM or GamePro to get a review of the game to find out when a game came out if you should spend your hard-earned money on it, because there was no internet to go and get public opinion on it. So then they needed the early copies. They don't need that shit anymore. They don't need that shit anymore because it is irresponsible to have a review like that IGN review that literally sank that fucking game. Of course, there were other factors involved, but that was, in my opinion, the primary contributing factor to why Murder Soul Suspect didn't sell well, was because one major outlet was the only major outlet to review it early, and they said it sucked, and that was the end of the game, you know? And that's unfortunate because it was actually a good game, in my opinion. So I try to stay away from any preconceived notions of games when I play them, or if I hear a preconceived notion, I know it exists, but I try not to factor it in to my judgment of the game when I'm playing it. I really do try to just stay at face value. I literally don't watch a ton of gameplay trailers. People ask me, Phil, did you see this new gameplay trailer for this and that? I have not even seen a single piece of Black Ops 4 gameplay yet. Even though it's all over the internet, I said, I don't want to do that. I want to play it for myself and judge for myself, not based off of what I saw in a trailer. I want to play the game for myself and see what it ends up being. That's how I am. That's kind of how I've always been. I want to judge it fairly. I don't want to have preconceived notions. But sadly, it's not always possible. Sometimes people will be talking constantly about, did you hear how good this game is? Or did you hear how bad this game is? Did you hear this point about the game that's good or bad? And yeah, you're going to have that, especially when you have a public presence like mine. There's no way that I can 100% isolate myself from that. I can't live in a fucking hyperbaric chamber, isolated from the outside world, so that I can't hear that kind of stuff, you know. But I do my best, and that's why I do feel, okay. That's why I do feel that when I play a game myself, that's a lot different from when other people do. A lot of people out there are like me, but some aren't. And they're out there to do a paid advertisement. They're out there to put out a product for you to laugh at and highlight the game in a certain way, and you don't even know what the game really is. And that's not what I'm all about. I'm about trying to be as fair and honest and straightforward with you as possible as I can be. And that's the kind of product I put out for 10 years. That's what I pride myself on. So Black Spawn, yeah, it does suck. It's hard. Being really honest, it's hard because you want to read those early reviews. You want to know what the public opinion is, but I try to do my best to not do so. A lot of the times when you hear me talking about it, it's because I already heard someone else talking about it on stream or on the internet, and then eventually I wanted to get the real story behind it, so I went and read the early review. It wasn't that I actively sought that out myself or anything like that, okay? All right, 2 shout-outs, and then we're going to take a break. First shout-out is Judicious Echoes, did 100-bit cheer. He says, I never thought Michael Scott doing the Chris Rock routine was offensive. I don't even know what that means, but thank you for the cheer, Judicious Echoes. And DJ Runa cheered 49 bits. He says, would you consider games as PS or Xbox exclusives as games are also released on PC? At the moment, the Xbox has 0 exclusives since every single game is also available for Windows 10. Is it acceptable to then say that any game for the Xbox is an exclusive? I guess it all depends. I guess they could say console exclusive, right? Like, oh, this is exclusive if you're playing on consoles. It's an exclusive. But I think Microsoft actually likes the fact that their games cross over to Windows because they're saying, oh, Microsoft is the company for everyone. we're not inclusive where you have to own our particular console to play our game. You could also have a PC. I think they try to push that as a positive rather than a negative. It's up to you to subjectively interpret that information. But you are right, and I mean, should there be more clarity? Absolutely. These companies all the time spin stuff to make it sound like, for example, oh, Sea of Thieves had so and so many players. No, let me take that back. Sea of Thieves sold so and so many copies. No, it didn't. You told everyone to sign up for free with Microsoft Game Pass. Everyone got Sea of Thieves for free. No one actually, well, some people bought the game, but probably a minuscule fraction compared to the amount that you reported as how many people bought the game because they got it for free through Game Pass. Microsoft does that all the time. So I'm not surprised. Oh, we have so many console exclusives. And then you look at it. No, they don't. Actually, they're all on PC too. But that's how they are. These big corporations always find a way to spin things, the PR. You know, let me say it in a fancy way to make us sound better than we really are. That's how these major corporations are. Okay? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break. I'll be coming back in about, say, 10, 15 minutes. Part 2 of Ask the King will be continuing on with forum questions. And if we get through them, we'll get to Twitter questions. All right? Thanks so far, everyone who's been supportive. All right. And I'll see you at the other end. If you're on the stream, I'll be back in, say, 10, 15 minutes. If you're on YouTube, I'm just going to split the part here. And then we'll come back and continue on. Sound good? All right, guys. Thank you.